Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Peahen's Ponderings, a podcast for fiber artists. I'm your host, TJ King. This podcast is sponsored by the Spanish Peacock, a veteran-owned micro-business currently, but not for long, based out of Jefferson, Maryland. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hooga. Probably ought to take that out.
Which? The weird grin or the awkward pause?
The weird grin.
In today's episode, we're going to have a Spanish Peacock 2021 year in review and 2022 look ahead. Which is kind of funny because I seem to recall, granted it's been a year, but I think in the
long year.
A very long year.
Shouldn't touch that.
You shouldn't touch that. I seem to recall in the 2021 look ahead, we were all like, thank God 2020 is over. 2021 is going to be awesome. We were really excited about how the year was going to go. And then we just had a lot of distractions. And overall, I would say that we were a lot less productive than we really had planned on being.
Yeah.
I know for myself, this is my first podcast since April, so that's like 8 or 9 months. We've done a lot fewer videos than we'd intended to do.
And by a lot fewer, you mean none.
Well, there's been also fewer virtual shows, less inventory getting posted to the website, fewer updates, things like that. But we've had a lot of other things going on, even as early as back in February.
Yeah. Distraction number one.
Number one.
Spent a fun-filled 7 days in the hospital with a... I'm not even going to go through the fancy name again.
Hold on. No, we did this. We figured this out. It was a renal arterial thrombosis.
Right.
Yes, that thing.
A blood clot in the kidney.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good time. 2 separate trips to the ER.
And this is back when hospitals wouldn't allow you to come back with the patient.
Right.
So the first time we were waiting and finally got sent home. Oh, you're fine. We thought it was appendicitis because of the abdominal pain he was in and feeling like he was going to throw up. So, of course, we went to the ER.
In the snow.
Uphill,
snow. Both ways.
Him having to drive in his truck because my little Volkswagen bottomed out in the snow drifts across the road we live on.
Yeah, we made it all of 100 yards up the road and then had to back down the hill.
Around a curve.
In a blizzard.
In the dark to get my car back
to
our house.
Praying that a tractor trailer wasn't going to come out of the dairy farm and smash us.
Yeah. And then they were like, oh, no, you're fine. It's not COVID, it's not appendicitis.
No, the first time they didn't even check for that. They
always check for COVID when you go in, though, I thought.
No, not that time.
Really?
They had me in triage and poked and prodded and scratched their heads, gave me some painkillers, and sent me home.
Yeah, and then just a few days later, he had to go back.
It was like 24 hours.
Something like that,
We were back. Then they took me back and they did the COVID test then.
And basically when they took him back, I didn't see him again for 7 days because that was back when people weren't allowed for visiting and things like that. So, and then it's not just that the hospital stay derailed everything. Once they finally figured out what was wrong and got him on the right kind of treatment, then it was all the follow-on visits. So it's not like it was just 7 days. It was 7 days and then a million follow-on appointments.
3 solid weeks of
different specialists because
appointments
because
every
the
other
type
day.
of condition because of the type of condition it was. There were lots of different specialists involved, and they all had to have follow-on appointments.
Oh, and couldn't agree none of them could agree about anything.
Yeah.
I I still think that they figured out what it was and came to a final conclusion over tiddlywinks. But we got past that after blood thinners and follow-ups for 3 weeks, and then follow-ups every 3 months, and finally we're done.
Yes.
No more blood thinners. We got
Yay.
off of that. Got my strength back. Got back in the shop.
Just started to get back into the swing of things again, and then distraction number 2 came along.
One of my parents took a tumble down the stairs
In the middle of the night.
in the middle of the night
Because when else do you fall down the stairs?
in a snowstorm, uphill both. No, that was a different one.
No, it was in May. It was not in a snowstorm.
My mom took a tumble down her stairs and actually broke her neck. Not paralyzed, broke her neck, but broke her neck. And was in the hospital for 3 weeks.
I don't remember. It was all a blur. A very panicked, stressed, oh my God, what do we do kind of blur. And I mean, even though, your sisters bore the brunt of dealing with the situation, it was still very, very
mentally
draining.
It
was draining. And, we're getting to that point where parents are more fragile than they used to be, and trying to figure out what to do and how best to move forward for everybody. And I mean, you spent your birthday at her house taking care of her that whole weekend, going down to take care of her and your stepdad.
Yep. It was definitely, there were a lot of days that I would get up and get dressed and get out in the shop and just stand there and look at the lathe, and simply could not.
Yeah.
So, but again, we got through that, and things are better now.
Yeah.
She's almost back to 100%, and hopefully we won't have a repeat of that one.
Yeah, no. We're really lucky we didn't lose her that time. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how she survived it.
It was.
But we're just grateful that she did.
Absolutely.
And then there was distraction number 3. So you recover from your hospital stay, and then there's the issue with your mom. And then your mom gets better and is back on her feet and life's getting back to normal. And then what? So late July or thereabouts?
A great big dumpster rolls up in my driveway, and we start remodeling the master. And by we, I mean me.
Entirely him. I didn't have anything to do with this.
Started a remodel
tile.
On the master bathroom.
I helped choose tile. That was kind of
It's true, you did.
Well, it's become important. For those of you who might not already be aware, it's become important for us to put our current house on the market. And, whenever I kick off these podcasts saying that Spanish Peacock is a veteran-owned micro business or small business or things like that, he works out of the home. So when we're talking about selling our current place, that's completely picking up and moving Spanish Peacock business as well as, our personal home. So that's why it's still relevant to a Spanish Peacock year in review, is because remodeling the bathroom, getting this place fixed up and ready to sell, is actually intimately connected with, Spanish Peacock, your ability to be productive, and, where your business is ultimately located.
Right. So getting the house ready to sell.
We decided to start with
something we could actually enjoy for a while before.
Yeah. Because, a lot of times you move into a place and you're like, oh my God, I love it, but I hate this and I hate that, and we're going to fix it all up. And then
17 years later, 16 years later, you're looking at it going, we
never did any of those things we were talking about doing. So maybe we should fix it all up nice for the new owners who are going to move in when we sell it. So we decided to start with the master bathroom. And by we decided to start with, we mean him, all him. We called around for some quotes to to find out how much it would cost to get some contractors in to just do the shower part, because we were converting this old, creaky, awful tub into a walkout tiled shower. And we were like, well, that's the difficult part. Let's get some experts to do
Right.
that and we'll finish the rest. Oh my God, it was awful. It was going to be
Yeah,
so expensive.
One of the, I don't know what the word would be. One of the things about COVID is the people who were continuing to work. You know, everybody's at home, so they're wanting to do things. So the contractors can pretty much charge whatever they wanted. And
Yep. Supply versus demand. There was a lot more demand so that they can charge.
I got 3 or 4 estimates. One of the guys actually came out to the house and looked around, took measurements, and gave me a price. Another one of the contractors told me on the phone, I mean, before he'd even looked at the house, he gave me a price of 10 grand just for the shower.
Insane.
Another company who will not be named, but does everything in one day, gave me a price of $14,000 if you sign the contract today, almost $17,000 if you come back to me within the next 30 days.
For just the shower.
Just a shower. Yeah, we did a master bathroom redo. Took out a tub, put in a big tiled shower. 8-foot tall glass doors.
Funny story. I still regularly run into the glass doors. I still do. It's been months now, and they're so big and so beautiful, and I just don't register that they're there. And I'm like, bang, hit my head on them this morning, actually.
I should have got frosted ones.
It might have helped.
New vanity, new floor,
mirrors, just the whole thing.
Just made it a really, really nice bathroom.
Right.
Of course, took 3 times longer than it should.
And it was a fraction of the cost as well.
Right.
So, I mean, that's your classic dilemma when it comes to home improvements. You save the money by doing work yourself, but then it takes twice as long, and you can't work on the shower and be in the shop making spindles.
It actually would have been very interesting to keep better track of how many hours were spent working on that or picking up supplies for it.
Or driving back to the hardware store.
Or driving back for the third time in one day.
Because the pieces didn't match up because the original contractors skimped and didn't do the job right in the first place, so things no longer worked. Oh, and then there was time that
fixing the kitchen ceiling because
you broke the pipe was so old and so brittle that when he tried to work with it, it broke, and we had water coming through the ceiling.
For those of you who have never experienced rain in your kitchen, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, no, not good.
No, but we got the bathroom mostly done.
Right.
It's usable. There's still a few odds and ends to finish, but most of that was extra stuff I decided to put in afterwards.
And the reason it became so important to start getting this house fixed up and ready to sell is because of distraction number 4, which again wasn't necessarily a bad thing, just like remodeling the bathroom wasn't a bad thing, but it still took a lot of time and attention and energy away from regular Spanish peacock activities.
Yeah, it did. It was kind of a big thing, kind of a big deal. It was like 74 acres big.
Yes.
November of 2020, the Peahen returned to the world of soul-crushing day jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we could be eligible for recognition by lending institutions. So after she'd done time in purgatory, still doing time in purgatory, we were back on the radar scopes of the banks and were able to apply for a loan. Found a piece of property in Preston County, West Virginia. Went up and saw it. Everybody immediately fell in love. We put in an offer on the property 2 days later, and it was accepted. And then
And
we,
just to be clear, for those of you who haven't been part of this, this is the property for the Cedar Springs Fiber Arts Center and Retreat. So if somehow you're just coming upon Spanish Peacock for the first time and haven't heard us talking about literally nothing else for the past half a year, that's what this property is for.
right, put in an offer, it was accepted, did everything, and then sat around answering questions and waiting for 56 days
Yeah,
to go to closing.
our real estate agent was like, "We're going to put 60 days in the contract," and we're like, 60 days for closing? Isn't that kind of ridiculous? And then it took almost exactly that long, and we were both like,
Yeah, it was something special.
because closing took 2 months. It was what, I think August when we found and fell in love with the property, and then October by the time we closed.
Yeah, I think it
And
was mid-October by then.
and it was just too late in the year to even think about starting to get any kind of infrastructure put in place, getting any kind of construction going. You know, originally we thought once we found the property that we'd be building by the time 2021 was over, but that was the furthest possible thing from the case.
Right. It especially with COVID going on, there's not the number of people out working that normally would be. In order to get water up to the site, we would have had to have moved within days of closing, and we didn't have any of the paperwork or anything done.
Yeah, they like the water commission stops even hearing applications until like March or
Yeah.
something like that. So there was one more session before they shut down, and there was just no way we could put together the information by
Right.
then.
The deadline for having the application in was close of business the day I called.
Right.
And
So
like she goes, hey, if you can have your application and bring me a check, we can get you on the docket for the next meeting. And I'm like, I'm 3 hours away. I don't think that's going to happen.
yeah.
So-
And it doesn't make sense to do water and not also do electric at the. But anyway, point being, we do have the property. We have been spending some time, not as much as we would have liked, but we've been spending some time up there. We've started putting together a few videos about the experience, and we'll include the links to those. So if you haven't been following them already, you can go check those out. We've also got a Cedar Springs Facebook page, and of course, the GoFundMe is still active.
It is.
So
I actually updated that today.
yeah, sad story about the GoFundMe. For those of you who don't know the whole sordid tale, we fell in love with some property in early 2020, started the GoFundMe in February of 2020 because the banks wouldn't talk to us because we were both self-employed at that point, because I was also working for Spanish Peacock. And then COVID hit, and our GoFundMe just went.
Yeah, we actually stopped promoting it or trying to do anything with it because there just seemed to be so much more serious stuff going on in the world. But it is still there.
Right. And we're still looking for support because this is a really, really big dream. Actually, it's probably not even correct to call it a dream anymore.
No,
Because
it's gone beyond dream state.
Yes.
We're in
It's becoming a reality.
what was it? Somebody said that we were picking up speed, and I was like, we're in full on free fall at this point.
Yeah. That's basically how it feels right now.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a whirlwind.
Yep.
It is definitely a whirlwind, but it's good. We've spent time at the property. We've identified where everything is going. We've started to clear out some of the key spots, key points, things that I think that other people will be interested in seeing when we're up there. And now it's just a matter of getting construction underway, getting the the construction loan and getting everything started. So we've been up to the property now 4 times.
It's got to be 4 times because there's 4 videos.
Right. We have the lodge. We have our
The lodge is a little shed
10 by 12
that we sleep
It's a
in.
wonderful shed, 10 by 12 shed. It's fully insulated now, not fully walled and paneled, but fully insulated. So we have a place that we can stay. Although, if it's 3 degrees, I don't know how much I'd want to stay up there, or even if we can get in. But we have everything mentally planned out and on paper as to where it's going and what's going in.
And when, roughly.
And when.
Like, at least the order.
Right. So now it's just a matter of getting all the information together and talking to contractors to get quotes so we can submit the paperwork to the bank for the construction loan. Big fun.
Yep.
Which will be another distraction, but
Right.
it'll be for 2022.
Right. So, and those were the big distractions in 2021. We've already mentioned the fact that late 2020, I went back to the soul-crushing world of the day job. But that was late 2020. It was November. So most of 2020, I was helping with Spanish Peacock stuff, content, photography, website, things like that, a lot of the technical aspects. And then all of 2021, you've been on your own because
Right.
I've been very fortunate to be one of the people who can continue to telework, and probably will, even if, amazingly enough, COVID stops being a thing, which at this rate, I don't know if it will. I can telework, so I'm at least here, but I can't do all the things that I used to do because I've got a job. I'm expected to be, doing job stuff.
Right. You're here, but not here.
So you've had to take on a lot of the burden of inventorying spindles, handling your own social media, answering your own emails,
Packing orders.
Oh, wait, no.
Well,
You always packed the orders yourselves because I was terrified of messing up the packaging and spindles arriving damaged.
Right.
So I never did that. So
We've done all right with that, though. I mean, we've adjusted back to what it was before.
but it's still been a drain on our productivity for 2021.
Yeah.
In addition to my return to the world of soul-crushing day jobs, we also had a lot of impacts throughout 2021 due to COVID and its effects on like supply chain issues, the availability of various products, the price of other products, even if you could get them. Suddenly things were a lot more expensive.
Yeah. It's the strange things. Sandpaper, which and my sandpaper comes from Canada, so you wouldn't think that there would be any problem with them, but I guess the factories were closed down, so that became difficult to get, including sanding belts and things like that. Oh, thank you.
It's a friend for you.
Thanks. I always needed a friend. Get off me, friend. Plywood. The Baltic birch plywood that we use for the tote life racks and plying stands and storage racks has become hard to get quality wood anyway. The premium grade wood.
A lot of it has been like
they're
bent.
like biscuits and bent, and the price the price for the premium wood has not doubled, but pretty close to it. The price of all the exotics has gone up. That's been happening every year. I don't know how much of that's to blame on COVID, but a lot of the prices like that, wait times on things like Spectre ply, and Dymalux has increased.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Spectraply and Dymalux, those are the colored laminated birch woods that we use in a lot of the very colorful spindles.
Right. All the international bobs of mystery and things like that. So it's been fun trying to gauge what you do around that, and it's been very hard to be consistent because from day to day you don't know what you're going to be able to get or not be able to get. So big fun, but again, we've made it through that as well.
Yep. Speaking of plywood, not everything in 2021 was that bad. Spanish Peacock was finally featured in Spinoff magazine. He's been in business for 19 years, specializing in spindles for the majority of that, hand spindles, drop spindles, more recently supported spindles. And every single month when we would get our episode of Spinoff, we'd be like, oh, are there Spanish Peacock spindles in here? And occasionally we would find places where whoever wrote the article chose to use Spanish Peacock spindles for their photography. But for the first time, summer 2021,
I get an email from Spinoff magazine saying, hey, we would like to feature something you made in the magazine. Can you send us a plying rack?
Here we go. Plying rack. You guys, can you see that? Can you see that? The plying rack actually made it into Spinoff.
The plying rack designed and built by you.
So when you're a world-class spindle maker and you finally get featured in Spinoff magazine for
a plying stand that was designed
cut on the laser engraver,
created by your wife.
Yep. So all of your years of turning and expertise in the spindle physics, different kinds of wood, things like that, and you finally make it into Spinoff for.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it. The name got in the magazine.
Right.
They were, and I was absolutely very amazed when they sent the plying rack back. I looked at it and I'm like, there were no marks. There was nothing on it. I didn't think they'd been able to set it up.
Yeah.
And then they did.
Yep.
So someday I'll write an article or something and they'll put that in there. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe.
Or maybe not. Oh, you know what? You know what I would love to see Spinoff magazine do an article on?
What?
Cedar Springs.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
When we're up and running.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
People will be lining up to write articles about it.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Me too.
Another impact of COVID, in addition to the supply chain issues, most of the shows that we had in 2021 were virtual, but we actually had one live in-person show in November, and that was Frederick Fiberfest. One in-person show, Frederick Fiberfest.
Right.
And at that point, it had been over 2 years since our last Spanish Peacock Fiber Show, because we had Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival in 2019.
Right.
And then in the spring of 2020, well, technically, our first casualty of 2020 was a supported spinning class that was going to teach March 15th.
Right.
And the host and I were like, I don't know what all this stuff is going on, but maybe we should just postpone for a couple of weeks. And it never happened. And then a couple of weekends, or maybe the very next weekend later, was supposed to be Homespun Yarn Party. And they decided to take that virtual. And same for everything else in 2020. Everything in 2020 was either canceled or virtual. And then in 2021, things continued to be primarily virtual. And when we were offered the chance to vend at Frederick Fiberfest, it's local. It's right down the road. It was a one-day show. It seemed like a good opportunity to start getting back into the
easing back into
in-person shows. Although, COVID aside, It was really freaking cold.
Oh my God.
It was so cold.
What month? That was
It was November.
November.
It was like the first weekend or second weekend of November. I forget exactly. But the floor was concrete.
The door was
open.
Well, the doors on either end of
and there was
barn.
just this wind that wouldn't stop. So we decided to wear masks just for the comfort of our customers. And honestly, the masks ended up being a good thing because they kept your face from freezing because it was so cold. Having that extra layer was actually really nice.
Yeah, it was. It was actually strange being back in person at a show again.
A lot's changed.
It has. After 2 years, you like forget how to people.
Yes. Yes. Between no shows and, being self-employed and isolation,
Lockdown.
quarantine, things like that, and then teleworking, yeah, talking to people all day. That was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was exhausting, but it was at the same time it was good. It was nice to feel that rush, especially like during the first hour, 2 hours of the show when we had people.
We had virtual shoppers.
Yeah, it was
really
the weirdest
weird.
thing.
I don't remember it ever having been quite like that previously, where people would be FaceTiming with friends or loved ones who couldn't attend or were staying home because they were sick,
or even
and directing them. Hold the phone up here, and virtual shopping with someone who was there in person.
There was one customer who was out of state and had their child there, and they were basically picking spindles over the phone.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. That part of it was very cool.
One of the other casualties of COVID that we just had no idea until we did this in-person show, cash is dead.
Yeah, it really is. I don't think we've ever had a show that so few people paid in cash. I can remember Maryland Sheep and Wool and Shenandoah Valley. People would have
have your little envelope,
have their little envelope
with all your money that you'd stashed away over the course of the year.
Oh, and some people would go as far as having an envelope for each
different
individual vendor that they were,
yeah.
Oh, this is my Spanish peacock, and if I didn't spend all of my stuff from here, I can put that in. Yeah,
no cash. Well, that's not entirely true, but almost no cash. It was very, very strange. Almost all of the payments were electronic.
Right. Which I guess is why the credit card company sent me a Christmas card this year. No, it was an enlightening experience. Stepping back into it, trying to remember how to do simple things like operate the cash register
or setting up the booth.
Set up the booth.
So, and the funny thing about setting up the booth is that we had purchased brand new grid wall that was only 6 feet high for Homespun Yarn Party in 2020, because Homespun Yarn Party is just a couple hours. And where they set up is so far away from where you can unload your vehicles. And we had dragged in these massive 8-foot grid wall panels, and they were so tall and they were so hard to get in and set up.
And the ceiling in that room was only 9 feet high, so it completely blocked out all light.
Yeah, we were casting this massive shadow. So for 2020, we invested in brand new grid wall, and then it was all canceled. So, it all went virtual. So we took that 6-foot grid wall, set it up in the basement, and turned it into our virtual studio. We did live shows, streaming virtual shows from the booth set up in our basement, podcasts. Basically, the 6-foot grid wall turned into our booth for most of 2020 and then almost all of 2021. And then there's this in-person show, and we're like, hey, we should use the grid wall for that. So we completely took apart the virtual booth and then and then couldn't figure out how to get the 6-foot panels and the 8-foot panels to work together in a 12 by 10 by 12 setup, because
Right.
they gave us some extra space because so many vendors canceled at the last minute for Frederick Fiberfest. So
Yeah, we went from 10 by 10 to 10 by 15,
right,
and we pulled it short.
and but the 6-foot grid wall was intended for a really tiny little space.
Right.
So we were mixing the 6-foot panels and the 8-foot panels, and it was kind of a hot mess, really.
Worked though. We had to use the 8-foot panels to keep the lights high enough to not hit people. But yeah, it was trying to remember how to get everything to work
How to fit
and
everything in the back of the truck.
not fall on
Right.
top of me. And yeah, it was a hot mess. It was the Friday afternoon dumpster fire,
Yes.
but it worked. We survived. We now have the booth set up in the guest room.
Which means
rather
we
than
have
the
no more
basement.
guests. One of the other things that we did in 2021 was to start having spin-alongs. If you're not already familiar with it, we have something called the Spanish Peacock Flock. It's a Facebook group. It's a private group, and we've been using it as a way to stay in touch with people, having spin-alongs dedicated to various themes. In 2021, we did a Fractal design spin-along and did a spin-along for Tour de Fleece. And then in 2022, we've already started on our first. That's what you've been seeing me. You can't see it against the dark, so just go, wow, yeah, great, it's amazing.
It's purple.
It's
It's
very
very
purple.
purple.
It's very dark purple. We're doing ingredients spin along. So if you haven't already, if you've got a Facebook account, you're welcome to come on over and join the Spanish Peacock Flock. We'll include a link for that so that you too can participate in the spin alongs. The great thing about the flock as a group and the spin alongs in particular, super, super supportive, very nice people. Everybody just wants to have fun and enjoy themselves and get better at spinning.
Well, and the spin-alongs are zero pressure.
Zero stress. We do
Yeah.
not believe in high stress spin alongs. There's no, we're going to award a prize to whoever manages to crank out the most yardage.
1,000 yards a day.
Yeah, no, none of that. So it's a great way to meet and socialize with other spinners, get inspired by different techniques, learn about different kinds of fiber, things like that. So it's a really wonderful way to connect, even virtually, with other people in the fiber arts community.
Now the flock is when you first started talking about starting that, I was like, yeah.
It's been
But
great.
it's actually a lot of fun, and I mean, as I've said before, I'm the world's greatest supported spinner right up until you introduce fiber into the equation. But it's a lot of fun to read. And the
It's just
interaction,
amazing what a lot of people do, too.
the interaction, and seeing some of the stuff that people come up with. Like you'll see a post from somebody, and then an hour later, this cloud has been turned into 400 roll logs, or it's
Yep.
just. I am often humbled by some of the stuff that I see people create. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that it has the number of people. I mean, it's starting to pick up speed.
So 2021, I guess, really wasn't that bad, but I think we're definitely looking forward to what 2022 has to offer as an improvement. One of the things that we've already planned on, looked into, researched, more in-person shows. So Frederick Fiberfest is currently talking about having 2 shows, one in April, one in October.
Right.
And then there's Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival, always the last full weekend of September. Of course, all this is going to depend upon what the latest COVID variant is doing. Right now we've got Ominous Cron, as I like to call it. Next, who knows, maybe it'll be called Godzilla. So, the thing about in-person shows is it really depends upon what needs to be done for the safety of everybody.
Right. that in itself is a challenge, trying to prepare or know whether you should prepare for a show.
Right, because technically it's early January. If you're doing a show in April, you should be getting ready for it now.
Yeah. No, I am trying to set spindles aside, even as early as this, for the show. With the way the numbers are going, it'll be, it's anybody's guess as to whether or not it's actually going to happen or not. It'll all be pretty much day by day. But we'll prep as best we can and keep as much stuff on the website as possible.
I'll definitely say one of the advantages to having nothing on the website is that it'll make it much easier when we finally migrate to a new e-commerce platform, because there's almost nothing to migrate.
Right.
Except for flying stands.
Seriously.
As featured in Spin-Off Magazine.
Nice.
You knew I had to go there again.
Right. No, it'll be nice to actually get onto the new site and be able to schedule stuff ahead of time
and handle international shipping again correctly.
Yeah.
There's the current e-commerce provider we have is okay-ish. They're worlds it's worlds above where we were a couple of years ago. But it's way short of the shopping experience that our customers really deserve. So at some point, who knows when, I've got to fit things in around my day job.
Prior to June.
Well, maybe in time for your birthday. But again.
Prior to June, or we have no host.
Right. Oops, no Spanish Peacock website anymore.
Right.
Poof. Anyway, I have to manage to fit all that in around, day duties as assigned and a real job, because with the property and all of the exciting things that are taking place with the property, that day job's going to be more important than ever.
Yeah, it is. Somebody got to pay for all this stuff, right?
Right.
No, it's we are switching websites. The main thing that'll be cured by that is we'll actually not have to charge international customers express shipping, and we can get back to international first class. I don't know why. Yeah, we won't even go into it. It's
in addition to the possible in-person shows and the website update, we also are still planning to do virtual shows as well, with the inventory,
the new studio.
With the inventory challenges that includes.
Right.
And along with that, not just the virtual shows, which includes a live stream, usually through Facebook, as well as a shop update, aka a complete and total bloodbath.
Yeah.
We will also still have some of the stealth updates as well for the people who might happen to stumble upon the website at off hours in the middle of the night and just happen to find a couple of spindles posted here or there, which will be a lot easier to do on that new e-commerce platform we're talking about.
Exactly, because we can pick a time.
Yep.
We also got videos that we were talking about doing.
Yeah. Basically all the videos that we weren't able to do in 2021, hopefully we'll get to them in 2022.
Because we are so incredibly good at making videos. Not as easy as the YouTubers make it look.
Yeah, but that's okay. We really do need to get
better. Sorry.
Yeah, we really do need to get the Tote Life assembly video produced. Yeah. And then we were talking about doing a video about spindle physics. So, you've got different styles of spindle, different types of whorl, different densities of wood, different weights, and how those factors all interplay in order to make spindles behave a specific way.
I'm actually looking forward to that, because it's going to give me a chance to experiment with what could potentially become a new product line. A shaft with interchangeable. No promises. Got a lot of work to do, a lot of research to do. But yeah, the video about spindle physics would be a lot of fun.
And I think it's something that people would really be interested in as well.
It would. We're also hoping to have some activities up at Cedar Springs this year. The schedule or stuff we were talking about now as of Friday is a little bit in flux.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were hoping to have like a spring fling open house. Don't really have any details at this point. A lot depends on the weather and when things get warm enough to actually do anything. But with developments of the last couple of days, it may go from open house to groundbreaking ceremony.
Work party.
Work party. That would be good too.
Bring your boots and your shovels.
And Friday we got a call from a company in Florida. Somebody had ordered 3 steel buildings from them, but they were only able to take delivery of 2, which left a beautiful, or potentially what could be beautiful, 40 foot by 60 foot by 14 foot at the eaves steel building available for a highly discounted price. We quickly crunched numbers and banged our heads together and
Panicked, freaked out.
yeah,
Soul searched.
Kermit arms and
called people for advice.
Exactly. So long and short of it, and anybody who's been on Facebook or social media has seen, we FedExed a check on Saturday, and we are now, well, at least we have our name on a 40 by 60 by 14 steel building.
Yay!
Which is actually a lot more building than I was looking at putting up, but it potentially opens up the opportunity to have a second floor for storage or classroom space or whatever. And we'll also, once it's up and we get things going, we'll add the store onto the outside of it. So spring fling, possibly. We just have to find out what right now we have a proposed delivery or proposed ship date of what, April 1st? May 1st? April 1st.
But that means having the site prepped. We need to get the construction loan. Before we can get the construction loan, we need all the details to present to the bank.
Yeah.
So there's this whole chain of events, long series of things that have to fall into place first. But having this building offered to us kind of, it's the kick in gear that we really needed to start moving forward.
It was that missing piece to set everything into motion, and
this appears to have been it.
It just kind of happened. So the spring fling and a lot of other stuff that we were planning has suddenly become very affected by how things go with the building and getting stuff.
And we'd been hoping to have the wood shop / store operational by the end of 2022.
Right.
And this really makes that a much more tangible thing.
Absolutely. At least the wood shop portion of it.
Right.
And, hoping to get the house on the market by June, even if we have to use the second floor as temporary living quarters.
As long as you've got somewhere to set up your lathe. That's what matters. Because, we could live in a
trailer?
Cardboard wardrobe box under the train tracks.
We can live in the lodge.
As long as I've got internet access to telework.
Exactly. So anyway, 2022 in the first 9 days.
It's been exciting.
Has been exciting. Well, the first 7 were kind of like, meh. But yeah, the last 2. Things are looking up, hopefully. We're updating everything. We're trying to get the word out there. Anybody who's watching this, who is a member of a fiber guild or a spinning club or a knitting club or anything like that, please let everybody know what we're trying to do. And we'll put up the links You gonna put up the links for everything?
Yep, absolutely.
This is happening. It's really happening now. We talked before when we first purchased land about having skin in the game. As of tomorrow morning, when they get that check, we got a whole lot more skin in the game.
We got like a whole limb.
Yeah, we're definitely up to at least a leg.
Yep.
And
I don't know if my heart can keep
I was
up
gonna.
with
I was
all
actually.
of the year being that exciting.
I was just gonna say, if the rest of the year is like the last 2 days, I may not be around to say
the
2023.
heart might not make it.
It's exciting. We
And
big
terrifying.
things planned. Like I said, we hope to have the store or the shop done. This place sold, be out of here, be up there, and start making that a reality for us and for everybody else.
That's it for this episode of the Peahen's Ponderings. Thank you so much for spending some of your precious time with us. And remember, you keep making beautiful fiber arts, and the Spanish Peacock will keep making beautiful tools to help you do so. Thank you. Goodbye. Ironically, I'm spitting on a willet during this whole time.
Nice.